From the archives of the United States Cavalry, the true stories of Colonel Ranald Mackenzie and the cavalrymen he led. Mackenzie's Raiders. His secret orders from the President of the United States. Clean up the Southwest. Make it a fit place for Americans to live. Wipe out the renegades, outlaws, and murderers. If necessary, cross the Rio Grande, knowing capture means hanging by the enemy. Discovery, court-martial by the United States Army. October 1870, the third consecutive month in which officers, men, civilian scouts attached to Fort Clark had been without pay. But at long last, the accumulated payroll of 3 bitter months was arriving.
Now, suppose you all just take your guns out nice and easy like and drop them right there in the road. Now, you, in that wagon, you'll find a certain box. Supposing you just go back there and grunt and tote it down onto the road.
Better do it, Weatherby. I feel a little sorry for you, mister. Not much, just a little. You're robbing Mackenzie's 4th Cavalry.
Well, I didn't take you for Navy. Now, suppose you get back up on your horse. Now, the whole bunch of you just ride right on down the road just as though nothing ever happened. Goodbye.
Scout Weatherby spread the word like hot butter. All
Good.
Bracketville's gossip talking about your holdup, sir.
My holdup?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I mean the holdup. They didn't know you were the bandit.
The little boy. He arrive yet?
He arrived this morning, sir. That kid's like having a pet panther for a mascot.
This ought to be bait enough.
Colonel, if I may, I've been thinking.
Well, the Army lieutenant does not forbid junior officers from thinking, but it hardly approves. Besides which, you were thinking about joining me.
Oh, yes, sir. I was thinking that when you get the girl, in case there's trouble, then one of us could take care of the girl while the other took care of the trouble.
Sorry, Lieutenant. That'd be risking 2 officers instead of 1. No, we'll do it as planned. We've got to get that girl out of Mexico. In the process, we can also hope that we'll get Lionel Folger. That's the girl, Lieutenant, Mrs. Wagner. I've got to know her when I see her, if I see her.
She's awful pretty to be so important to Washington.
She's the key witness in a Senate investigation. Without her, no investigation. Now that we've got that little boy safe here, we can move. I've waited a long time to deal with Lionel Folger. That expensive hideout of his has been harboring criminals long enough.
It's going to be risky business, sir. Our security reports indicate that the Mexicans have greatly increased their border patrols.
Yeah, can't be helped. We've got to get Mrs. Wagner out of Mexico. Our orders are specific on the subject. Let's hope we also get Lionel Folger. The Raiders, they'll be ready to leave at dawn?
Yes, sir. All close-mouthed men, sir. Telling them the secret's like embalming it. pet panther.
I'm an Indian. Is Mom here?
Not yet, Mike. But I'll have her here for you. I promise you.
Oh.
I wonder if you'd reconsider, sir.
The answer is no, Lieutenant.
Bang, bang, you're both dead.
Besides, you've got to stay here and take care of Michael, see that nothing happens to him.
Take that and that. He's dead.
I don't think it's him you have to worry about, sir.
I see what you mean. See you later, Mike.
Sir? Quarter of a mile since we crossed the river.
All right. We'll stop here. Lieutenant, are you clear on your orders for the next 48 hours?
Yes, sir. Colonel, I have my civilian going on leave clothes right here.
Sorry, Lieutenant. We've been over that before. The answer's still no.
You guessed right, sir. There is a man up on that hill. Looks like a sentry for Folger. He couldn't see us cross the river from up there, but he can sure see us come out this draw here.
Good. I'd like to have a little audience. Lieutenant, chase me for about a quarter of a mile. No farther. Then turn around and go back into the United States.
Yes, sir.
All right, men. I want you to shoot at me. Make it look good. Not too good, however. I just as soon none of you won a marksmanship medal on me. All right, let's go.
Good luck, sir.
Come on, men.
As Mackenzie had anticipated, the sentry intercepted and escorted him to the sanctuary of Lionel Folger.
Mr. Folger will see you, sir, if you'll wait here, please.
Delighted.
Your hat, sir.
Good day to you, sir. My man Reed here has instructions to bring you and all strangers to see me. I am Lionel Folger.
Delighted. As a matter of fact, Mr. Folger, I was on my way to see you. We have certain mutual friends, their names aren't pertinent, who recommend you as a charming and trustworthy host.
And your name, sir? Perhaps it is pertinent.
Well, what would you like? Smith? Jones? Brown? Or shall we say O'Brien? Algernon O'Brien. A little less common. May I?
En garde?
I may be a little rusty. May I compliment you on your residence, sir?
Thank you, but I simply copied it from a home I visited once in Boston. And may I compliment you on your fencing, sir?
Thank you. I studied it at one time in Europe, at a period when it was expedient for me not to be in the United States. Very much like now. A woman, you understand? Very good, Mr. Folger.
A woman? You're a liar. Reed saw you chased on Mexican soil by a unit of Mackenzie's cavalry. I find it hard to believe they'd all be interested in the same woman. Search him, Reed. Search him and see if there's a valid reason for his continued existence. Well, now, that looks like a tidy sum.
What about his gun?
Well, he's our guest. Who would he shoot? Small wonder the cavalry was so keenly interested in you after you'd relieved it of its payroll. But I heard about the incident, of course. I must admit it showed a certain amount of daring and imagination. A woman, you said. A woman? Oh, please, sir.
Well, I'll probably end up spending it on a woman. That's my usual pattern.
Well, every man has his faults. The remainder of the payroll, Mr. O'Brien. Where have you concealed it?
Now, Mr. Folger, you wouldn't want me to lie to you again?
Well, as you choose. It really doesn't matter. In the end, you'll have paid me the greater part of it anyway, in order to remain here. You probably understand that I guarantee immunity from the law, any law. But my price is rather steep. For example, this will be just sufficient to afford you refuge here for 1 week.
Well, I've learned, Mr. Folger, that if one can't control a situation, one can at least accept it.
Well, that's very wise. And now I'll arrange your accommodation with Sampson, our butler.
Oh, yes. Do you have many guests?
A few. But everyone has his own quarters, so you won't be bothered. We assure privacy at no additional cost. Oh, good afternoon, Mrs. Wagner. And how has your day been?
Like all other days here. Charming.
Yes, well, of course, you're young and lovely, and this place must be rather confining. Mrs. Maria Wagner, may I present a man who chooses to call himself Mr. Algernon O'Brien?
I'm honored, Mrs. Wagner.
I'm not.
Well, it didn't take me long to make a bad impression.
Did you expect to make a good one here?
In order to fulfill his secret mission, Mackenzie had to first gain the confidence of Maria Wagner. Then second, find a way to get her safely out of the hands of Lionel Folger.
Good morning, Mrs. Wagner. May I join you in your walk?
You may not.
I have something of interest to discuss with you.
You could discuss nothing of interest to me, Mr. O'Brien.
Not even your son, Michael?
What about Michael? Is he all right?
The boy's in good health. I see we have company. Is there somewhere around here where we could talk with comparative privacy?
Yes. Tell me, Mr. O'Brien. Tell me what you know about him.
Just in a minute. First, I want to take out an insurance policy. The kind that I hope will ensure privacy.
That's far enough, mister. You stay right where you are.
I just wanted to say that you're not nearly as attractive as the lady.
Figuring on impressing her? Forget it. She don't like none of us. She won't like you no better.
Well, maybe I'll have beginner's luck. But I won't have any chance at all if you insist on sticking close to me like a chaperone.
Look, O'Brien, Mr. Folger says for me to tag you too. When he says it, you're tagged.
All right, tag us. Keep us in sight if you like. But remember, I'm a paying guest, and I'd like the privilege of talking to the lady privately.
All right. Go tell her your lies. Won't do you no good. But don't you try scampering away all of a sudden.
Why should I, Mr. Reed? I like it here. If we talk quietly, Reed can't hear us.
You said something to me about my little boy.
Yes.
What can you know about him?
I know that you put him in an expensive school in the East, all paid for by certain criminals that hope that you won't testify against them.
I put him there. They did. The criminals did.
Exactly. And that's the way they're trying to bribe you not to testify against them.
They made me. They made me stay here until the hearing's over. They made me by threatening my son's life if I didn't. Oh, what's the use? What's the use of talking to you?
Michael's eyes flash just like yours, especially when he's excited.
How do you know? When did you see him?
Night before last.
Night before last. You're a liar. Michael's school is in Connecticut.
Michael's school is, but Michael isn't. He's just across the Rio Grande in Fort Clark, being guarded by a very capable regiment of cavalrymen.
Who are you?
Colonel Ranald Mackenzie, ma'am, at your service.
Colonel Mackenzie, the officer? I don't believe you.
I'll tell you something else about Michael. When he tries to wink one eye, he can't do it. Both eyes close.
That's Michael. That's my son.
Now, if your safety is guaranteed, and Michael's, of course, would you be willing to come back to the United States and testify?
Immediately and eagerly.
All right, we'll leave tonight, midnight. I'll have some horses ready, and we'll make a ride for it. Now, slap me. Hard.
Slap you?
Come on, slap me. For Reed's benefit. Make him think I insulted you. Then flounce out of here, and I'll follow you, and in the process, I'll lose Reed.
When I think of all the men who need slapping.
Mrs. Wagner. Mrs. Wagner. Keep going, and keep complaining. Loud.
Don't! Don't touch me! Don't you dare touch me, Mr. O'Brien! Get away from me! Don't! Leave me alone! Don't touch me! Don't you ever touch me again, Mr. O'Brien! You stay away from me!
Following his instructions from Mackenzie, Lieutenant Paxson made preparation to lead the raiders into Mexico.
Yes?
Well, you look worried, sir.
Puzzled, Sampson, puzzled. That O'Brien.
O'Brien, sir? What about him?
Nothing definite, nothing I can touch. Something I vaguely feel about him, something wrong. I suppose it's my imagination. You have news?
Well, nothing important, sir. Just gossip from Bracketville about Colonel Mackenzie.
I suppose it's too much to hope that he's dead.
Well, not quite, sir. But he must be very ill because he hasn't been seen in the fort or any place else since the payroll holdup.
Since the payroll holdup? Are you sure he's there? Are you sure he's ill?
Well, no, sir, but if I may be permitted to say so, you'd be ill, too, if someone stole that much of your money.
Another coincidence, and I distrust them. O'Brien shows up here the day after the payroll robbery. Mackenzie hasn't been seen since that day.
Do you think Colonel Mackenzie would dare come here?
From what I've heard, he'd dare anything.
In accordance with Mackenzie's timetable, the raiders left Fort Clark, crossed the Rio Grande, and headed for the appointed rendezvous. The next move and the success of the mission now depended on Mackenzie.
Mr. Folger, I lost O'Brien.
You lost him? How?
I tagged him and Mrs. Wagner like you said. When I came up, he was gone. I couldn't help it, sir.
Where's Mrs. Wagner?
Just outside.
Mr. Folger, as long as I'm here, I demand protection from men, beasts like Mr. O'Brien.
Where is Mr. O'Brien?
I don't know. He ran away when I screamed, and I hope he stays gone.
Reed, if O'Brien isn't found in 10 minutes. Just where have you been, O'Brien?
Well, these didn't grow in my hand. Mrs. Wagner, I looked all over it. These are the prettiest I could find. By way of apology.
Mr. O'Brien, there's only one thing you can do for me. Stay away from me.
Oh, Mr. Reed, you're right. She doesn't like any of us.
Mr. O'Brien, I can hardly claim that any of us here is a gentleman, but each of us tries to act like one. I'd appreciate a similar attempt on your part.
I can appreciate that sentiment, sir. And, to try and make amends, I'll apologize to you. You take the flowers.
Now, you should be thankful, Reed. He made an appearance and saved your life. For the present. I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
You what, Mr. Folger?
If he's Colonel Mackenzie.
You know what to do.
Almost, Colonel, but not quite. Get Reed. We've got to catch him before they cross the river.
They're coming.
Sound happy.
I am. My orders were to get you. My hopes were to get Folger, too. Come on. I've got a place picked out. Here we are. Here, hold these. Hide behind this. Looking for me, gentlemen? Don't fire, Sampson. I very much wanted to take you alive, Mr. Folger.
This is Mexico. You have no jurisdiction here.
No, but I soon will have, in about 15 minutes. The Rio Grande is just 15 minutes behind us. Shall we ride to Fort Clark, Mr. Folger?
Where's Michael? When is he coming?
Oh, Mrs. Wagner, take it easy. I've sent for him. There you are. Come in.
Michael!
Got a report on Folger?
Yes, sir. He's in the marshal's custody.
Good. That ends his... Lieutenant. You any explanation for your appearance, mister? How about that shoulder board?
Oh, yes, sir. There's my explanation. I'm lucky I have a uniform left.
Michael, let's see you wink.
Mackenzie's raiders rode again and again, carrying out the secret orders of the President of the United States. Do whatever necessary to clean up the Southwest. Make it a decent place for people to live. Ride with Mackenzie's Raiders as they relive the blazing pages of history in the making.